asking on Slido. I have a couple of questions. I'll read one. Michael, read one. So one of them, Jess, because people are so moved by your music, how do you deal with anxieties that come from how people will receive it or doubting if you're good enough?
Ooh, great question. Yeah, I think it's good to just be really honest that I have had the worst spell of like anxiety and doubt, crippling doubt in the past few months. I think a lot of it was brought on by I have been recording my own, like I've always worked with somebody else with recording my music, but because of this year, for multiple reasons, um, I've been recording it myself. So I just haven't had like, it's so good to be surrounded by people to work with, because you can keep your mind clear and you have a sense of team. And I have my husband, Kyle, is like amazing, but I run that guy ragged with all my anxiety and insecurity. But anyway, so yeah, I think more than anything, just like want to say, I'm just not above it. And I've had about the worst bout of that, that I've had in a long time. But man, I just cannot talk enough about like daily relationship with God is everything. Like trying, even if you can't spend more than 5 minutes with God, if you can just stop first thing every day and just be like, God, I don't want to try to do this day without you. And just like invite God. So yeah, it's like some days absolutely suck and I don't feel better at all. But in like the bigger story of my life, as I've like invited God into the process, my anxiety, my security level, like just I get in a better place. I still have terrible days, but I'm just like, I absolutely can testify that like God's presence in my life, if I just invite him with simple prayers, like it's undeniable that he comes in and meets and gives me strength in my life.
Thank you so much. Another question that we had that got a lot of interest was, have you ever written or almost written something that God has told you to shut down or not publish? If so, how do you reconcile with that? And if not, is there anything that you do to try to specifically avoid that?
Yeah. Oh, that's a great question too. Thought you were gonna be like, if he has, could you play that for us? Just kidding. Could you play whatever that is? Just kidding. That's totally happened in that I've just got some songs I don't think I am supposed to share with people. I have found that like I love like sad music. Like I listen to a lot of sad, melancholy, depressing sounding music. I just like it. I don't know why, but it's like I just like, putting on sad songs and driving through the rain would be like, I actually like that. I don't know what's freaking wrong with me. Like I get some kind of weird joy out of that. But I'm just joking. But like I have noticed that like for me, I actually kind of always end up writing hopeful songs, even if they're like kind of heavy, because God's in my life and now I am doomed to a life of hope. Like every situation, there's actually like, even in the midst of the worst thing, like I can still have hope. And I keep sensing that. So like laments and like more of like being able to process things through like something like a lament. I've learned to like write those, but some of like my really dark, depressing songs, it's like, for me, I'm not meant to really share those, like, because God's just given me an opportunity to like really add hope. Like, especially like we were talking about in my bio, it's like friendly folk. And really folk music, a lot of folk music is really sad and depressing and I freaking love it. But like, I think some of my call as a musician is really to offer a more hopeful, friendly type of folk music. And so, yeah, I just try to keep it hopeful because that's true to my life. And so there's some songs that I kind of didn't need to get shared for that reason, because they're just kind of like heavier and it's really not true. By the end of it, it's like, oh, God really came through for me there actually. So.
Yeah, thank you for that. So you kind of went over how scripture interacts with your music. So how do you prevent worship from becoming just going through the motions, especially when you're tired or things just aren't going right or anxieties of day to day happen?
Yeah. I mean, I do just go through the motions sometimes, and I think that's okay. I don't think it's the end of the world to do that, or like that God's mad at anyone for just doing that. But there's no doubt that it's just like, I feel like a broken record, but it's like inviting the presence of God into things, like, is the better way, even if it's like I'm not excited about it. Helping out at this church and the songs they picked for me to sing, and the weird whatever, the weird sound system, and that guy who always talks to me, or what, whatever the situation is, where it's just like, I couldn't care less about being here right now, and I don't want to do this. And then it's like, sometimes my worst attitude days, like, God will really like humble me, and like someone will come up and say something to me that it's like, wow, I needed to hear that, and I thought I was better than everyone by showing up and whatever. And so I think like it's just been so good to just learn, like, really to try to stay as present. But it's a battle, there's no doubt, because of now that it's my job to like, and that gets weird too, is it's just like, it's my job to lead worship. That's a scary mix of things. And so just trying to continue to keep my heart pure and stay present, and really try to like inspire that, especially if I have a team that I'm running, like, because everyone will gang together and, work their way into a cynical, sad, critical, weird place, and just trying to continue, if you have a team under you, keep a sense of just like joy and gratitude and humility and all of that. So it's like, I have had better days and worse days in that, but just trying to learn to keep that kind of attitude, because it's like, and just humble, like, who am I to think I just like should get this, opportunity or whatever. Just be grateful for everything I have. So yeah.
You talked a little bit about not moving to Nashville. Would you be able to go into more detail about what it looked like to trust God as you were building your career, especially with the music industry always being a bit uncertain?
Yeah. Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, the music career as we knew it in the 80s, 90s, what was building up from the 60s to the 90s, crashed in about like 2008, 2010. Spotify's on the rise, Napster had happened, like CD sale, all of the normal way of how it worked crashed. So me and a lot of people my age are trying to learn to do music at that point. So it's been both a really good thing, in that, like what I was talking about, it's like, actually we have more direct access to people now through social media, YouTube, being able to publish our own music, and people can get it all over the world. So in some ways it's like better than it ever has been, because you can access people, but then at the same time cutting through, there's just literally millions of choices for people to listen to. So trying to, so it's just, for me, the biggest thing really has been staying committed over a long period of time. And there's books like the 10,000 hours thing, and there's tons and tons of evidence of this. And, especially in musicians' life, you all of a sudden, whatever band it is hops on the scene. But actually, if you look at, and I mean, good bands, like not someone who just had one song that just kind of went up and down, like good bands or good musicians, sometimes you go, you feel like you learned about them yesterday, but when you go and you find out how long they've been at it, oh, it's about 10 years, it's about 10, 12 years, 8 years that they have been nonstop going for it, that brought them to being able to appear on this tour, or open to this artist, or have this song or whatever. So it's just like, for me, really, it's just like, if you want to be a pro at something, it just takes a long, long time. And so for 7, 8 years straight, just of like working, spending a lot of money, trying to get better at what I do, meet people, and yeah, just figure out what it is that I uniquely offer to the world, and how to access the people who are looking for what I make. and just stay at it. So it's been just now in the past 3 years, am I really feeling like, cool, we're getting somewhere. And like, you know, because you're like, you want to prove it to your parents, like, I'm not wasting my life. And I remember about 2 or 3 years ago going like, if this does not turn around a breakthrough here, I'm coming up on 30. It's like, how much longer am I going to do this thing? And so finally I've been seeing enough signs to where I'm like, okay, I have a career in music now. And so I'm going to ride this wave as long as I can.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your thoughtful responses. Ladies and gentlemen, the amazing Jess Ray.
Oh, thank you guys. So sweet to be with you tonight. Thank you for the opportunity. God bless you guys.